So most people think estate planning is all about paying taxes. But here's the good news. For most Texans, surprisingly, taxes are the least of your worries. So I like being able to deliver good news. Many people expect estate planning conversations to be highly technical and expensive, focused on strategies to avoid taxes. But when they learn the real facts about taxes and estate planning, they're relieved. That's why this chapter is my favorite chapter in my book. So in my book, Estate Planning in Texas, which I wrote with a Texas licensed attorney who's a contributing author, I devote the entire chapter 8 to taxes because understanding them can actually be empowering rather than scary. So let's dive a little deeper into the concepts of estate planning and taxes for people in Texas. Good news number one, an inheritance is income tax free. Now, let me dive a little deeper into that concept. So, for example, let's say dad dies and he has 3 kids and leaves his estate to his 3 kids. Maybe dad had a $300,000 bank account. Well, each of those children is going to inherit $100,000 income tax free. Let's say dad had a $600,000 home and each child inherited 1/3 of that. Children won't pay any income tax when they inherit the home. Maybe the dad owns some stock in a brokerage account, maybe $900,000 worth of stock. Well, each child's going to inherit, of the 3 children, each child's going to inherit $300,000 of stock without having to pay any income tax. We'll get to the capital gains tax in a minute. But I want to really make sure people understand this concept of how an inheritance is income tax free. There are some exceptions. The biggest exception is that traditional IRA or traditional 401k that you have. Yes, if dad had a $600,000 IRA and he left it to his 3 children as the designated beneficiaries, then each of those children will wind up with an inherited IRA, and each of the children's account, assuming dad's account was $600,000, each child's inherited IRA will have a balance of $200,000 when they inherit it. And as they take distributions from their inherited IRA, they'll report that as taxable income on their own income tax return. But generally, an inheritance, when it's bank accounts, brokerage accounts, real estate, a business, that's all income tax free, which can be really powerful because we all know how hard it is for people to accumulate assets. Yes, people in their 30s and their 40s, and 50s, those children of people who are passing away now. They're working hard and they're earning wages, but they're paying income tax on those wages and they're spending those after-tax proceeds on their living expenses. So it's really hard for people to accumulate assets just by working and paying income tax. But when someone can receive an inheritance and it's income tax free, that can be a significant financial windfall for people, and especially if it's used properly. All right, good news number two. There's no Texas estate or inheritance tax. So Texas has no state level estate tax and no inheritance tax. Now there is a federal estate tax, which we'll get to in a minute, but Texas has no state level estate tax or inheritance tax, which is great because many states do impose either a state level estate tax. Someone dies with a $4 million estate, the state level estate tax applies. And so, part of that estate goes to the state government. Some states impose an inheritance tax. So if you inherit $1 million, part of your inheritance must go to the state in the form of an inheritance tax. But Texas has none of that. So only the federal estate tax matters. No state level estate tax, no state level inheritance tax. Now let's get to the federal tax that applies to everybody in the country. But the good news is for 2026, the federal estate tax exemption is $15 million per person, which is really $30 million for married couples. I'll get to that in a minute when we talk about portability. So the vast majority of Texans will pay, there will be no estate tax, no inheritance tax when they pass away. Their entire estate will go to their survivors. The only possibility of estate tax is if someone dies and they have more than $15 million, or there's a married couple and they have more than $30 million when the surviving spouse passes away, assuming things were structured properly. So big bonus there for Texas families when it comes to estate planning and taxes. as far as the income tax and the estate tax goes. Well, the next piece, good news number 4, is the power of the step up in basis. This has to do with the capital gains tax. But there is a powerful step up in basis rule that applies particularly to people who live in community property states like Texas. Because the rule is that when the first spouse dies, you have a married couple who owns community property. And when the first spouse dies, all of the community property, not just the deceased spouse's half, all of the community property both spouses have gets a step up in basis. What does that mean? Well, let me give you an example. Let's say a married couple during their marriage, they purchased some stock in a brokerage account. And when they purchased it, it was worth $100,000 and now it's worth $600,000. And let's say one spouse dies. Well, when that first spouse dies, the basis of all of that stock increases from $100,000, that's what they paid for it years ago, to the value on the date that the first spouse dies. New basis, $600,000. That $500,000 of appreciation goes completely untaxed. So that's a big benefit for people in community property states. All of the community property gets a step up in basis when the first spouse dies. Excuse me. All right, and then there's a opportunity, if you take advantage of it, for the entire estate, both spouses have, to get a second step up in basis when the surviving spouse dies. Now that requires the first spouse to die to leave assets to the surviving spouse in a way that those assets are included in the estate of the surviving spouse. So for all of this estate tax stuff, people think, it's really, I don't have to know anything about it because no way, we're never going to have anywhere near $30 million. But you need to understand the concept of assets being included in the surviving spouse's estate because if they are included in the surviving spouse's estate, even if the entire family's assets are worth $4 million, $5 million, $6 million, well under the $30 million that they can leave from a federal estate tax perspective, by the first spouse passing away and structuring their estate to leave it in the surviving spouse's estate, then all of the family's assets get another step up in basis when the surviving spouse dies because all of those assets were included in the estate of the surviving spouse, which is the key to getting that step up in basis. So one thing I'm proud of with this book that we wrote is when you purchase it, you'll also get a free access code that lets you download Texas-specific wills and powers of attorney. These wills are designed so that your family can take advantage of that double step up in basis at the second spouse's death, something many generic forms, online templates, and quite frankly, even attorneys and financial advisors often miss. Okay, good news number 5, Roth IRAs are tax-free. They're not only tax-free when the Roth IRA owner pulls out takes distributions from their Roth IRA, but it's also tax-free to the beneficiary when the beneficiary takes withdrawals from that Roth IRA after the Roth IRA owner dies. So that's another big benefit there. Okay, a few other helpful tax concepts that apply to people in Texas. Number 1 is a lot of people, they're confused about the capital gain and when that tax is due. So we talked a few moments ago about the step up in basis and how powerful that is and how that negates any tax on appreciation during the asset owner's lifetime. But then another benefit is, the capital gains tax, it doesn't apply until there is a sale of the asset. Some people, somehow they get it in their head that, boy, when my kids inherit, they're going to have to pay all this capital gains tax for one reason or another. But that's just not the case because not only is there a step up in basis, but the capital gains tax isn't due until an asset is sold. So sometimes children inherit stock, land, real estate, vacation homes, and then those suckers continue to grow. And then the children wind up never selling that asset, and the children wind up passing the asset along to their children. So even the appreciation that accrues during the children's lifetime goes untaxed because another step up in basis occurred when the children died owning that appreciated asset. Can't get through a discussion about estate planning and taxes in Texas without talking about gifting. So gifting is another kind of non-issue for people as far as it goes with taxes. So maybe you've heard the rule in 2026, you can, if you want to, you can give up to $19,000 to as many people as you want to every year without any tax consequences. That's really a gift and estate tax rule. Let me mention that any gift that you make, if you give your child $100,000 to help them go put a down payment on a house, nobody owes any income tax. The child doesn't owe any income tax. You don't owe any income tax. Regardless of the size of the gift, there's never any income tax due on a gift. The $19,000 rule is a gift and estate tax rule. So for example, let's say you did give your child $119,000 to help them go put a down payment on a house, or for any reason, it doesn't really matter what they use it for. Well, really, still nobody owes any income tax, or nobody owes any tax at all. But by making a gift to your child of $119,000, you used up your $19,000 present interest annual exclusion. But in addition to that, you also gave them another $100,000 because you gave them $119,000. Nobody owes any tax. All that means is you just used $100,000 of your $15 million estate tax exemption. So now when you pass away, you can only leave $14.9 million free of the 40% federal estate tax. And so, you're probably never going to use that anyway. So there is no real tax consequence to making gifts. Certainly no tax consequence. Don't even have to report anything if you make a gift to people that's $19,000 or less in a calendar year. If you make a gift in excess of $19,000, you do have to report it on a gift tax return, but there's not going to be any tax due. You're just reporting to the IRS that you're using some of your federal estate tax exemption. Another issue, something called portability. It applies with married couples, enables the married couple to shield $30 million from the estate tax. But it's really critical for those married couples who have between that $15 and $30 million estate, because when the first spouse dies, the first spouse to die may not have used their entire $15 million exemption. So if that's the case, an estate tax return can be filed, a portability election can be made after the death of the first spouse to enable the surviving spouse to not only use their $15 million estate tax exemption, but also to tack on top of that any unused exemption amount that the first spouse to die didn't use. That's really what enables married couples to exempt $30 million from the federal estate tax. And then another important concept is titling and beneficiary designations matter. Titling gets real important for a variety of reasons. Maybe the most common reason is many people create living trusts and able to avoid that attorney and court involved probate when they pass away. It doesn't have anything to do with the taxes, but has everything to do with the probate. And so keeping assets in your name may require a probate when you pass away. Titling those assets in your trust may help avoid or eliminate the probate when you pass away. So titling assets is really important. Also, beneficiary designations matter. I've seen people just designate their oldest child as their beneficiary on their IRA to quote unquote make it easy. But what they don't understand is there's going to be a lot of income tax consequences to that child, where you want to make sure if you want your IRA to go to 3 people equally, make sure all 3 of them are listed as beneficiaries on your designated beneficiary form with the financial institution. So all that matters. And then another concept that has to do with taxes for people in Texas is the Texas statutory power of attorney helps with tax matters. So for readers of my book, the Texas Statutory Power of Attorney, which you can download with your free access code, allows you to give your power of attorney agent the power to handle estate, trust, and other beneficiary transactions. And you can also enable your power of attorney agent to handle tax matters on your Texas Statutory Power of Attorney. This is especially helpful if you need to make certain tax moves, but due to your illness or incapacity, you're unable to do so yourself. Okay, so this chapter 8 in my book is the chapter that lets me give people good news, real practical tax advantages that most Texans don't know about. And when people use the Texas-specific wills and powers of attorney that come with the book, it makes it so much easier for families to confidently put these tax advantages into place. So if you'd like to read the full chapter, or heck, the entire book, the ebook is available to pre-order now, and the paperback will be available in 3 days. And if you do read it, I'd be grateful for any honest review you might leave. It really helps other Texans find the information they need. All right, so I hope this gives you a clearer picture of what taxes really look like in Texas estate planning. Thanks for watching.